On the news tonight, Governor Sheriff Oborevwori flags off the Delta State drug-free campaign for selected secondary schools. State government restates its stand on zero tolerance to land grabbing in the state. Federal government clarifies electricity tariff misrepresentation. Abroad, South African president hits back at President Donald Trump over threat to cut funding to African nations. Hello, good evening. Thank you for joining us on Delta Television News tonight. My name is Onome Iyarowe. Governor Sheriff Oborevwori today flagged off the Delta drug-free campaign for selected secondary schools in the state. The event held at the Unity Hall, Government House, Asaba, under the auspices of the State Orientation and Communications Bureau, in collaboration with the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, in the state. Bridget Agetu reports.
The state governor represented at the occasion by the State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Joseph Onojaime, noted that the high rate of drug abuse in the society had led to a high rate of renal failure among youth. He added that drug abuse also leads to deviant behavior such as theft and violent crime, and urged the Drug Law Enforcement Agency to step up enforcement of drug laws across land, air, and seaports to curb the influx of illicit drugs.
A way of tackling a societal problem which has grown to monumental proportion. The alarming increase in the prevalence of the use of illicit drugs among our youth has compelled us to take decisive action aimed at a drastic reduction and ultimate eliminating it in the Delta State.
The Speaker of the State House of Assembly, the Right Honorable Emomotimigwo, represented by the Majority Leader in the House, Honorable Emeka Nwobi, advised the students to face their studies and shun anything that could derail their future.
Avoid finding yourself in the midst of those you think do not live neat or clean lives.
The Director General of the Orientation Bureau, Dr. Fred Oganesire, said the campaign aimed to sensitize youth and empower them with the knowledge and skills necessary to make informed decisions on their health and well-being. He advised youth to strive to reach their full potentials.
The drug-free Delta campaign is a proactive response to this challenge. Our goal is to educate, sensitize, and empower our young people with the knowledge and skills necessary to make informed decisions about their health and well-being.
The State Commandant of the NDLEA, Mr. Abubakar Waza, urged the students to stay out of drugs for a better future, while advising stakeholders to take the fight against drug abuse seriously to ensure a lasting solution to the menace.
Commit violent crimes, they can't do it without taking drugs. So the less drug consumption we have, automatically the less crime rate we are going to have.
In an interview, the student commended the state government for the program and promised to take the message back to all the students.
And I feel very happy that I was able to attend this program because it has taught me a lot on the disadvantages of drugs and how much negative impacts there are as opposed to the good side. So I feel I won't have any chance of participating in drug abuse thanks to this program. I took in a lot today.
Away from drugs, very bad.
Bridget Agetu reported.
The state government has restated its stand on zero tolerance to land grabbing in the state. The Commissioner for Works, Rural Roads and Public Information, Charles Aniago, stated this today when he briefed journalists at the Professor Chike Edozie Secretariat, Asaba. Esther Oputa has details.
Mr. Charles Aniago, flanked by the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Sir Festus Ahon, and the Executive Assistant to the Governor on Media, Mr. Felix Ofo, said Governor Sheriff Oborewori had begun clamping down on land grabbers, as anyone found culpable would face the full wrath of the law, adding that any structure already erected on government land illegally will be demolished without compensation. The Works, Rural Roads and Public Information Commissioner listed a number of projects undertaken by the present administration, including 19 bridges across Forcados under rigorous construction, as well as other road infrastructure projects. He said the governor believed in accountability, as seen in his recent inspection of ongoing projects and suspension of some contractors who were not delivering optimally on the job.
Commissioning of the civil building and other infrastructure at the then University of Science and Technology of Oro, which is now Southern Delta University. The building of infrastructure following the establishment of a campus of that university in Rogobe, and the fast-tracking of infrastructure to enable the number of those projects and those departments to kickstart academic activities.
Mr. Anyagu said Governor Oborewori's visionary leadership was evident in infrastructural development, which earned the recent awards from This Day newspapers and Arise Television. He advised the public to disregard gainsayers who only want to fault the government of the day, stressing that Governor Oborewori was poised to delivering on the mandate of the More agenda.
In the person of Governor Sheriff Oborewori, bridges not as to the fiscal bridges alone that I've mentioned, but building bridges of unity, to the extent that Oborewori does not discriminate against even members of the opposition party in the state.
Mr. Anyagu charged heads of ministries, departments and agencies to ensure supervision of jobs under their purview. Esther Oputa reporting.
Believers have been advised to see themselves as the light of the world. The resident pastor of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Recharge Center Parish, Pastor Believe Iro, gave the advice when he officiated at the DBS Asaba weekly prayer session held at the office premises. Henry Unogwa reports.
Pastor Iro, in his message titled Ambassadors of Christ, taking his text from 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 20, enjoined believers to live Christ-like life that would convert souls for God. He harped on the need for God's children to serve as shining lights to the world in order to attract God's presence and blessings. The cleric cited biblical examples of God's children who upheld their integrity, eschewed evil, and loved their neighbors, calling on those who had not embraced Jesus Christ to do so.
As should tell us, let us begin to stand for the truth. Let us begin to stand for what we believe. Let us begin to do things right the way it should be.
The service featured praise and worship sessions and prayers. Henry Onogwa reporting.
Special advisor to the President on Energy, Olu Arolo Vereje, has clarified recent media reports suggesting an imminent 65% increase in electricity tariffs, stating that her comments on the topic were misrepresented. Reacting to media reports on the said comments in a statement she issued on Monday, Vereje emphasized that her remarks during a recent press interview were inaccurately reported. She, however, assured Nigerians that the federal government is committed to improving electricity supply across the country, with a focus on metering, subsidy reform, and debt settlement in the power sector. The special advisor explained that following the adjustments of Band A electricity tariffs in 2024, current charges now cover approximately 65% of the actual cost of supplying electricity, with the federal government continuing to subsidize the remaining portion. Vereje outlined several initiatives under the administration's energy sector reform, emphasizing the government's commitment to metering, targeted subsidies, and debt reduction. The central pillar of the government's power sector reform is a presidential meeting initiative, which aims to roll out 7 million prepaid meters across the country, starting 2025. She noted that the federal government currently spends over 200 billion naira monthly on electricity subsidies. She, however, highlighted that much of this support disproportionately benefits the wealthiest 25% of Nigerians rather than low-income households. The government is also addressing the long-standing debts owed to power-generating companies, which have hindered investments in new infrastructure and limited improvements in electricity supply. She assured Nigerians that these reforms are laying the foundation for better service delivery, expanded electricity access for homes and businesses, and long-term economic prosperity. A federal high court in Abuja has ruled against the excise duty on carbonated drinks introduced by the federal government, declaring the move invalid. The ruling follows a suit filed in 2022 by the Nigerian Employees Consultative Association, NECA, after the federal government introduced an excise duty of 10 naira per litre on non-alcoholic carbonated and sweetened beverages. The tax, otherwise called sugar tax, was meant to discourage excessive consumption of sugar beverages, which is said to contribute to diabetes, obesity, and other health issues. However, NECA, representing the interests of businesses, challenged the circular, arguing that it was unjustifiable. The Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edun, and the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Senator Abubakar Bagudu, were named as part of the defendants in the suit. NECA, in a statement, announced that Justice O.A. Egwatu of the Federal High Court rejected the preliminary objection of the Ministry of Finance due to lack of merit following 3 years of intense legal proceedings. The Director General of NECA, Adewale Smart Oyerinde, described it as a victory for organized businesses in Nigeria against official arbitrariness and unfortunate attempts to impose additional burdens on businesses. On July 17, 2024, Mr. Edun said the federal government was considering a temporary suspension of the sugar tax. The minister said the potential temporary suspension is under a 6-month economic stabilization plan. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has tightened surveillance measures at entry points into the country owing to a fresh outbreak of Ebola disease in Uganda. Last week, the Ugandan Ministry of Health confirmed the outbreak of the disease with 1 death and has now followed up with 44 contacts. The NCDC, in an advisory, said it was working to prevent an outbreak of the disease in Nigeria, as there were currently no Ebola vaccines in the country. The Disease Control Center explained that early recognition, isolation of patients, initiation of supportive treatment, implementation of infection control measures in health facilities and homes, tracing and monitoring of contacts, as well as safe burial practices will significantly reduce morbidity and the probability of death. The Muslim rights concern, MURIC, has warned against tenure extension for the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetokun. In a statement, the Executive Director of MURIC, Professor Ishaq Akintola, said the extension could erode efficiency, breed division, and diminish public confidence in the police force. According to him, the amendment to the Police Act that paved way for Egbetokun's tenure extension is a cause for concern. The amended Section 18, subsection 8 of the Act allows the IG to remain in office until the end of the term stipulated in the letter of appointment, rather than retiring at the age of 60. Professor Akintola noted that the police force had made significant strides in improving security in recent times, with hundreds of kidnapped victims rescued and several high-profile crimes solved. He, however, feared that the tenure extension could undermine this progress and create divisions within the force. Professor Akintola advised the IGP to bow out now before the controversy gets messy, tarnished his clean record. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has arraigned a former executive secretary of the National Health Insurance Scheme, NHIS, Mr. Usman Yusuf, on a 5-count amended charge bordering on alleged fraud. Mr. Usman Yusuf was arraigned before Justice Chinyere Nwechuonu of the Federal Capital Territory High Court, Kuje, Abuja. The defendant pleaded not guilty when the charges were read to him. Counsel to the defendant, O.I. Habib, thereafter requested that his client be remanded in custody of the EFCC pending the hearing of the bail application. The trial judge, Justice Chinyere Nwechuonu, however, pointed out that once the defendant was arraigned, he ceased to be in the custody of the EFCC. She subsequently adjourned the case to February 12, 2025, and ordered that Yusuf be remanded in the Kuje Correctional Center, Abuja, pending the hearing of his bail application. The former NHIS Executive Secretary is being accused of using his office to confer undue advantages to himself between 2016 and 2017. He also allegedly awarded contracts without following the due procurement process. The Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, has summoned Kenya Airways to its headquarters in Abuja over a social media video showing a heated exchange between a maltreated Nigerian passenger and Kenya Airways agent at the transfer desk in Nairobi. A video of the intense exchange between a Kenya Airways staff and a Nigerian passenger, Gloria Omisore, traveling from Lagos to Nairobi, Paris, and Manchester via the carrier, surfaced on social media. In the footage, Omisore could be seen complaining about inhumane treatment by the airline, lamenting that she was not adequately taken care of despite a 17-hour layover. However, the Kenya Airways staff was seen displaying lack of courtesy to Omisore. Reacting to the video on X, Director of Public Affairs and Consumer Protection at NCAA, Mr. Michael Achimugu, stated that there was no excuse for unruly passenger behavior. Meanwhile, clarifying the incident, the airline stated that the guest was traveling from Lagos to Paris and Manchester. On arrival in Nairobi for her connecting flight from Nairobi to Paris, it was discovered that she did not have a Schengen visa, which is a requirement for her to enter any European Union country. She was offered an alternative to travel through London and onward Manchester, which she refused. You're watching the Delta Television Main News. Still to come, South African president hit back at President Donald Trump over threat to cut funding to African nations.
Your walls are in for a lifetime treat with the right touch and the right paint. Introducing Aussie Wall Garment Paint. Aussie Wall Garment Paint comes in varieties of vibrant colors, textures, and glitters. It is fireproof, soundproof, heatproof, and has no bad smell. Aussie Wall Garment Paint is a long-lasting paint that's very affordable and safe for both residential and commercial purpose. Visit our head office at Block A1205 New Modern International Market is in A Junction, Asaba Benin Expressway, Delta State, or call Uche on 0802-700-0337. Enugu State Distributor, The Great Akon Ventures, 11 Timbershade, Abakwa by Nike Lake Road, Enugu State. Telephone 081-484-05940. Nsuka Distributor, Goddessville Plaza, Nsuka, Enugu State. Telephone 0816-120-8661. Anambra State Distributor Office, Otwe Multi-Concept Services, number 18, Mike Nwobo Street, Anambra State. Telephone 0803-936-7472. Lagos Distributor, Sonny Igbanda. Telephone 0803-653-7283. Anayo Global, Lagos. Telephone 0906-897-5528. Other African countries are Benin Republic, Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone. Aussie Wall Garment Paint, beauty, durability, and value.
If tanker wey carry fuel fall or pipe wey carry fuel for underground burst, wetin you go do? You go begin bath fuel put for your bucket, or you go run comot far for where the fire go soon come. Na only small time you get to take this wise decision. Waka comot, no, that one no dey enough. Shift, no, that one no dey enough. Stay there dey gist and take pictures with your phone. That na madness. Run, yes, run comot. Yes, your life depend on wetin you do. The fire go come at once and you no go fit control am. Why? Petrol dey catch fire easily. Why? Na just small spark go start big fire. So no stay there dey think. Run comot quick to save your life. No throw away your life away because of say you wan pack petrol. Take this advice. This informate na from Public Enlightenment Office, Delta Broadcasting Service, Asaba.
You're welcome back to the Delta Television Main News. The global scene is next as we join our World News Desk.
The World Health Organization chief asked global leaders to lean on Washington to reverse President Donald Trump's decision to withdraw from the United Nations Health Agency, insisting in a closed-door meeting with diplomats last week that the U.S. would miss out on critical information about global disease outbreaks. Both countries also pressed WHO at a key budget meeting last Wednesday about how it might cope with the exit of its biggest donor. For 2024 to 2025, the US is WHO's biggest donor by far, putting in an estimated $988 million, roughly 14% of WHO's $6.9 billion budget. A budget document presented at the meeting showed WHO's health emergency program has a heavy reliance on American cash. The document said US funding provides the backbone of many of the WHO's large-scale emergency operations, covering up to 40%. It said responses in the Middle East, Ukraine and Sudan were at risk, in addition to hundreds of millions of dollars lost by polio eradication and HIV programs. The US also covers 95% of WHO's tuberculosis work in Europe and more than 60% of the tuberculosis efforts in Africa, the West Pacific, and at the agency headquarters in Geneva. South Africa President Cyril Ramaphosa today hit back at his United States counterpart, Mr. Donald Trump, over the latter's threats to cut funding to the African nation after accusing it of confiscating land and treating certain classes of people very badly. President Trump had yesterday announced he was cutting off all future funding to the country, pending an investigation. Later, in a briefing with journalists, President Trump said that South Africa's leadership was doing some terrible things, horrible things, without giving examples. In his response today via his X handle, President Ramaphosa noted that the democratic nation of South Africa respects the rule of law, justice and equity, noting that the government hasn't confiscated any land.
South Africa is our land. South Africa belongs to all the people who live here in South Africa. It does not belong to Donald Trump. He can keep his America. And Eze is even worse. He is even worse. When I meet him, I will tell him. I'll say, you, Donald Trump, you are even worse because your forebears came to America.
With regards to the funding cut as disclosed by President Trump, President Ramaphosa, while acknowledging the U.S. as a significant political and trade partner, corrected that South Africa only benefits from the U.S.-funded PEPFAR aid, which constitutes 90% of South Africa's HIV/AIDS program. A Canadian senior government official has said Canada will take legal action under the relevant international bodies to challenge the 25% tariffs imposed by the United States on most of its goods, calling the tariffs illegal and unjustified. This is coming a day after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced a wide array of retaliatory levies of 25% on U.S. goods in response to the tariffs announced on Saturday by President Donald Trump. It will be recalled that President Trump applied a 25% import tariff on all Canadian goods, except energy products such as oil and gas and electricity, which will carry a duty of 10% while entering the United States. The 25% tariff will be in effect starting tomorrow, while the energy tariff will be implemented on February 18. Responding, Canada had imposed tariffs in 1,256 products, or 17% of all the products imported from the United States starting tomorrow. It added that the imports had a total value of $125 billion. According to reports, the Canadian government considered the move by Trump illegal and said it violates the trade commitments between the two countries under their free trade agreement and under the World Trade Organization. Officials said the U.S. tariffs and the countermeasures taken by Canada will have an effect on Canadian economy. Earlier yesterday, the government said it will provide a mechanism for Canadian businesses to obtain relief from retaliatory tariffs.
Over now to our business news desk for happenings in the business sector.
Nigeria's exchange rate appreciated significantly in January 2025, gaining 63.72 naira against the dollar to close at 1,474.78 naira per dollar on January 31st at the Nigeria Foreign Exchange Market. According to the data from the FMDQ Security Exchange Limited and the Central Bank of Nigeria, this increase of 4.14% pushes the local currency to the highest level it has reached in 7 months, with the last time the currency traded at a similar rate being June 11, 2024, when it stood at 1,473.88 naira per dollar in the official markets. The sharp increase has been attributed to policies implemented by the CBN, which have influenced market dynamics and contributed to the currency's strengthening. Authorized currency dealers quoted the dollar as high as 1,495.01 naira per dollar and as low as 1,447.50 naira per dollar at the NFM. The naira opened the year at 1,538.50 naira per dollar on January 2, 2025, and steadily gained value throughout the month. By January 3rd, it had dipped slightly to 1,533 naira per dollar before fluctuating within a range that saw it hit 1,560 naira per dollar on January 16, making its highest point for the month. However, the currency embarked on a more sustained appreciation for the third week of January, closing at 1,531 naira per dollar on January 24th, and further strengthening to 1,520 naira per dollar on January 28th. It continued its climb, settling at 1,506 naira per dollar on January 29 and 1,493 naira per dollar on January 30th, before reaching 1,474.78 naira per dollar on the last trading day of the month of January. The naira also appreciated against the US dollar in the parallel market on Friday, closing at 1,610 naira per dollar compared to 1,630 naira per dollar recorded on Thursday, representing a 20 naira increase within a day. This latest move reflects the impact of recent monetary stabilizer currency and improved market confidence. The introduction of the electronic foreign exchange matching system in December 2024 has played a significant role in this development. The platform, which operates through Bloomberg's B-Match system, allows authorized dealers to place anonymous orders into a central limit order book, ensuring transparency and efficient price discovery in the foreign exchange market. Telecoms operators have said they are preparing new tariffs to reflect the 50% hike approved by the federal government through the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC. Although the NCC has said that 50% tariff hike granted the operators on January 20, 2025 should commence this February, The service provider said it will commence the full introduction of the new tariffs in March. The operators which address this was coming as the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress (TUC) have called for massive protests tomorrow to force a downward review of the 50% hike to about 5%. But leading the Telcom's discussion, the Chairman Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria, ATON, Mr. Gbenga Adebayo, said the operators will issue their tariffs differently and were currently filing, reviewing and obtaining approvals from the regulator.
Let's join our sports news desk for happenings in the ever-busy world of sports.
Shooting Stars extended their unbeaten run to 7 games after they held Plateau United to a 1-1 draw in Jos yesterday in March 22 of the Nigeria Premier Football League (NPFL). New signing Tijani Kabiru put the Oluyole Warriors in front with a thunderous shot in the 74th minute. It was Kabiru's second goal in 2 league games for Shooting Stars. Plateau United leveled 2 minutes later through Albert Hillary. At the Dan Anya Stadium in Owerri, Rivers United suffered a setback in their title push, going down to a 2-0 defeat against Heartland Football Club of Owerri. Christian Moloku and Joel Okoro were the scorers for Heartland in the game. In other March 22 NPFL games played, Nasarawa United pipped Niger Tornadoes by 2-0. Abia Warriors defeated visiting Akwa United by 2-0. Kano Pillars played a goalless draw against visiting Bayelsa United. Meanwhile, Kano Pillars have suspended their technical advisor, Usman Abdallah, for 3 weeks following the team's poor form and his conduct towards the fans. The same Masugida side were held to a goalless draw by Bayelsa United at the Sani Abacha Stadium yesterday. The 4-time champions have recorded 1 win from their last 3 NPFL games. Usman's gesture towards the fan after the draw with Bayelsa United was deemed inappropriate by the management, leading to the disciplinary action. In the interim, club legend and chief coach Ahmed Gaba Yaro will take charge of the technical team. He will be supported by assistant coaches Abubakar Musa, Gambo Muhammad, Suleiman Shuaibu, and Ayuba Musa.
That's the size of our bulletin for tonight. Just before we go, here is the thought. For glory gives herself only to those who have always dreamed of her. To end Delta Television main news, a look at the major stories. Governor Sheriff Oborewori today flagged off the Delta drug-free campaign for selected secondary schools across the state. The event held at the Unity Hall, Government House, Asaba, under the auspices of the State Orientation and Communications Bureau, in collaboration with the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, in the state. The state government has restated its stand on zero tolerance to land grabbing in the state. The Commissioner for Works, Rural Roads and Public Information, Mr. Charles Aniago, stated this today when he briefed journalists at the Professor Chike Edozie Secretariat, Asaba. Special Advisor to the President on Energy, Olu Arowolo Vereje, has clarified recent media reports suggesting an imminent 65% increase in electricity tariffs, stating that her comments on the topic were misrepresented. And on the foreign scene, we reported that South African President Cyril Ramaphosa today hit back at his United States counterpart, Mr. Donald Trump, over the latter's threat to cutting funding to African nations after accusing it of confiscating land and treating certain classes of people very badly. President Trump had yesterday announced he was cutting off all future funding to the country, pending an investigation. So much for Delta Television News tonight. On behalf of the news editor and the production team, this is Onome Iyarowe, thanking you for watching. Do have a beautiful night rest.